Hello everyone, today I'll be showing you my Varga deck that got me to top 32 in BCS Malaysia. They had 300 players. I chose this deck because I already had Varga before, so might as well. But if you want to maximize your chances of winning in set 5, I just recommend using Levidras or Rezael. But if you have Varga, it's fine as well. So this is the prize I got, the energy generator. And yeah, I will also share with you guys how I play the deck or some little things I've learned. This deck will struggle if you're turn 1. I mean, if you're going second turn 1, but if you're going first, also turn 2. So your turn 1 to 3 needs to apply some kind of pressure. If one of your turns is just 10k and then pass, that's your chances of winning will drop so much. That's why my deck is focused on just having early pieces to call. And yeah, one of my worries in this meta is Levidras, because once they put markers on your field, I don't attack with my rears until I get Persona Ride, and they reach like at least 28k. So since you take off one marker, since when the Levidras removes one marker, it's gonna be 18k, so they still need to draw a 10k shield or a trigger to get back what they lost. The ride line, I use Virgila because, well, first of all, you don't clutter the field with the grade 1, because sometimes I want to call a different unit other than the grade 1 Varga, the original one, grade 1 in the ride line. But this one, you just Soul Blast and it to ride. So the skill is Soul Blast 1, you can ride to grade 2 for without discarding a card. But also the first skill, during your turn, this gets +2 for each of your rear guards. Can come up a lot when you're going, it will come up when you're going second. If you call 3 units, it gains 6k. Your opponent will not be able to just no pass it. So usually, I have 3 of any grade 1s. I'll just call them out all. But ideally, at least 1 Shenri. So when you call 3 units, this is gonna be 8k. So 5k shield to guard. So a bit easier, but unless your opponent doesn't want to get rid of their own units. This one's gonna be 14k because it gets +2k for each rear guard. So your opponent cannot just guard it with a single trigger. So mostly they no guard it, and then this one will hit 21 because Shenri will get +5, since it's most likely your opponent will not call 2 rear guards on their first turn going first. So this one is 21k. So their Vanguard's 8k, so they have to guard with trigger. But if you get a trigger with your Vanguard swing, this one's gonna be 31. So potentially, so 5k, they cannot 15k this one 15k if you don't get trigger. So early pressure already. That's pretty much the ride line, because the other ones you don't have to think about. The grade 2, you just call it out when you ride on it, and then the original Varga because you have to run it. Then 4 Rakshasa, of course, because you need to ride this. Impulsive, some people run the grade 3 that has boost, gains 10k, but this one I just prefer it because sometimes you have to guard with all of your units, and then this counts as 2. In a way, it already counts as 2 units since it's gonna call another one. So in your mind, you can always, if you have this in your hand, you can still build a board, since you need to keep on applying constant pressure with this deck. And also the +5k is really good when it gets retired by the ability of Varga gains +5, which is also really good against the Levidras, since mostly your Vanguard swings will carry you to win the game. And also filter, so I don't run the grade 1 Berserker Summit Flare Dragon because I think for me I don't think you need it right now, because this deck draws so much, and you also have filter with this too. Like one of my games in Swiss, I didn't at my turn 3 I still don't have Rakshasa. So what I did, I called 2 Twin Impulsive to filter 2 cards out of my deck, and then there's 2 Rokuseis, so that's draw 2, filter 2, draw 2, and then you still get Twin Drive. So 2 cards out of your deck and you still get 4 cards. You can also get more, you can still draw more cards if you're using Boulder Axe. So I don't think you need the Summit Flare to draw, and mostly Summit Flare you just want to run 1 or 2, so I don't think it will make a big difference in my opinion. And then Caliburn, mostly I use it to draw 2 cards, but sometimes the counter judge do come up, because this deck will run out of steam if you're not careful with your resources. Then 3, this is just 15k attacker, and at the end of the battle you retire it to draw 1. So just really good, 15k, and gives you a card, so even more draws to get your pieces, some shield or Rakshasa. Then Shura, one actually big thing that helped me, I saw it in a POV fight of different fights. So you can actually use the Energy Blast 2 on your turn 2 to gain 15k. So usually I do it when I'm going first, because if you have a grade 1 and you use this skill, it's gonna be 23k. So 15k plus 8, 23. If your opponent's Vanguard is 8k, they won't be able to guard it with 1 trigger. So if you're going second, it depends. If it's just gonna make the attack 15k to guard, I won't use it. But if it's gonna make the attack need to require opponent to guard with 10k shield or 20k shield, I will use it. So let's say it's alone. If it's attacking alone without boost, it's 10k, so only 5k shield to guard. So if you use its skill 10k shield, it's more awkward to guard. They either have to guard with trigger or like a special unit that has 10k shield, which is really big in the early, since you want to apply pressure. Okay, I keep on saying that. For Fall Heart, so yeah, you also have to be careful with your energy, since you're using 2 energy for this, 3 energy, and Fall Heart also requires energy, since most of the time you don't want to use the CB unless you were crit early and you have a lot of damage and you don't think the game will last long. So mostly you just use the Energy Blast 3 instead of CB. So Cycler really good. You draw 1 when you discard it, or you can guard with it. So this can save you some shield, and also it makes a board. So Energy Blast 3, you can call any grade 1 unit from drop without Sentinel. So you can call Rokusei to disable intercept and you get draw. You can call this Storm Slasher so to have 13k attacker or boost, and also when retired it calls back, so another 13k boost. Or Shenri, if your opponent does not have 2 or more rear guards, or you use Caliburn, you can get soul and draw. And then the PGs, Elementaria. So in English format, there's no berry or anything like that. So I think Sanctitude is best since there's Odium. You can use Elementaria for free if your opponent has triple drive on Odium. So yeah, I prefer this one. There's no other collab decks that you should worry about in this format in English. So Rokusei on place, whether from hand or not, your opponent cannot intercept until end of turn, and when any player's unit is retired from front row rear guard, so it doesn't matter if it's yours or your opponent's, you can retire this to draw 1. Then Storm Slasher, I did 4 Storm Slasher because I was worried about the Levidrus matchup. So ideally for the Levidrus matchup, when I'm on Persona Ride, this is my ideal column. Since 15 plus 13, it's gonna be 23. Wait, no, wait, 28. So 15 plus 13, 28. And if your Persona Ride 38, so even if the Levidras player removes one marker, it will still require 20k shield, because the attack will still be 28. So they have to draw. So even if they draw a trigger, the card they draw will still not be enough. So you're applying some kind of pressure. Usually when they go first and they already put markers on my board, on my first grade 3 turn, the powers will not be enough to require 10k shield. So at that point I just don't attack. If the attack will only require 5k shield and they get to draw, I just don't attack, because it's like I'm giving them free cards. Shenri for the early pressure. Mostly you don't get to activate this late game unless it's behind Vanguard. So because most of your opponent will have rear guards, and the back row retire is end of battle, so you won't be so the timing of this, you won't be able to proc it if your opponent has 2 rear guards in the back row, unless you play Caliburn. So if you play Caliburn, you played an order, so Shenri's skill will activate. Then blue OT, because crit. If you swing this on your, so if you check this on your first drive, your Vanguard will attack for 100 million with 2 crits for 3 times if you are able to use divine skill. So yeah, if you check this, crit on Vanguard is just really good. Draw, because yeah, fronts you won't be able to use it with the attack pattern on this deck. Then just normal 8 crits and heal. And the mulligan actually changes when you're going first or second. Depends, but your Rakshasa will be the priority. Or if you're going second, I prefer to mulligan for the grade 1s for the pressure. Like, okay, so we can do one going first, one going second. Let's say, okay, let's start with going first. This might be not shuffled well enough though. Okay, so going first, you don't have Rakshasa, so you want Rakshasa. You can always keep the cycler because it will draw you a card, so technically it will still help you get to Rakshasa. And yeah, additional draw. PG, since we don't have Rakshasa, you have to for me, I will just put it back to the deck. And then Storm Slasher, since we're not going second, we won't be able to attack with this anyway, and it's best to draw this later on if you're going first. Then I want to keep at least the Shura, so it might come up with the extra 5k on turn 2. So I redraw 3. Yeah, so for me, I don't think Summit Flare is needed because you draw enough anyway. Like, out of the 8 rounds until top cut, I never missed Rakshasa, except for one time I missed it for 1 turn, but I was able to get it back by drawing and filtering. So going first, I think well, you got the Rakshasa. So the only problem with the Virgila ride line is you won't be able to use the cyclers to discard, but going first, yeah, you also won't be able to discard this. So I'll just discard Shura because I want Shenri as an early booster. Then yeah, then let's say your opponent attacks, you don't have anything to guard. I don't want to risk the 1 to pass, so you take 1 and then you draw. You energy charge 3. So here, see, since we're using the Virgila ride line, the only problem is you won't be able to use the Fall Heart. but you can still use it to guard either way, so I guess it's fine. Or on your next turn. So you get a free ride, and then usually I just call this since you're going first, if your opponent's deck usually does not call rear guards, you can choose to keep Shenri if you expect your opponent to just swing with Van and then pass, since you'll still be able to activate it next turn. But if my opponent's like Razael, where they call units early, I just put it to soul. So this one is 28, this one is 23. But if you use Shura skill to energy blast 2, it's gonna be 28. So 20k shield to guard. So Caliburn, soul, draw 1. So also the Shenri will help you draw into your Rakshasa anyway early if you still don't have it. So yeah, if you use it, energy blast 2, it's gonna be 28k. So they cannot guard it with one card. And then yeah, let's say your opponent swing, whatever, let's just say they call 2 units, so you take 1 and then they attack this, you stand, draw. So you have 4 energy now. So yeah, this is, you have to be careful with the energy because the only so the drawback on using this early is you'll have less energy for the resources, but I think most of the time it's worth it to get that early pressure because this deck needs it. Since you only have 4 energy, I might just keep this for now. Since most likely we're gonna draw into another unit with Radiance Caliburn, and you can look at top 5 and see you're gonna call this one, so you don't have to worry about another front row unit. So Caliburn first before looking at top 5, so you know what you want to get. So you get 2 draw triggers, it's okay, that's still shield. And then look at top 5. So if your opponent has a unit, it's better to just call this, since this will only get +5 when you're on Rakshasa, and this will also give us a draw. So going first, it's better here since your opponent's only at 10k, so it's a magic number. 28k, they need to guard with 15k. If you put it here, so this one's 15k attacker, so 10k shield to guard, 15k shield. And if you call it here, this one's 13k, so 5k shield to guard, this one's only 15k shield to guard, so your opponent will be able to save 5k shield. So vice versa is better, vice versa will be better if your opponent is already at grade 3, since their vanguard will be 13k. Okay, so swing with this, 15k, draw 1, then 21, then attack, CB1, CB this just in case you want to call it with full heart, the grade 1. You retire, this one gets so this one gets +10, gets +5 from this skill, and since a unit was retired, you draw 1. So Varga becomes, I think Varga becomes S tier deck if you're checking crit on your first swing, but if you're not, it's pretty balanced. So let's check. So no trigger, so yeah, this will only swing for 23. So it's nice to have Shenri or Storm Slasher behind the vanguard, but if you already have booster in your rear. Because if we call the Storm Slasher behind Vanguard, if your opponent hit defensive on the first swing with this, he won't be able, this attack will not hit. Okay, so yeah, and then okay, let's go Rakshasa turn. Let's say use this to draw one, then like this, then no guard your opponent crit, heal, then you PG. So one thing you have to be careful is your divine skill. You have to leave 2 CB to use the divine skill, because you can only use the divine skill after you use Varga's skill. So if you're not careful, you won't be able to use their divine skill the whole game. So Rakshasa, when placed, you enter the Malworm state and you activate Persona Ride. So since you energy charge, you have enough energy for Fall Heart. So energy blast 3. So depends if your opponent has, so if your opponent has to intercept, you will remove 10k shield from this. Oh wait, I don't have Storm Slasher, so for me I would put it here and just call the the Boulder Axe here. So this will be 10k shield to guard, and this one will be 33, 25k shield to guard. So a bit more awkward to guard, because if it's like this, 25k, so one trigger, so 15k shield, and this will be 28, so 20k. It's alright, but if you put it here, this will only be guard. Your opponent will have to guard with mostly a trigger if they don't run draws. And yeah, so this one, retire. Then so the CB, so the on attack skill does not require CB now, only end of battle. So first it gains plus 10, retire 33, and then end of battle, retire the front row, end of battle, so drive check, then end of battle, you retire all back row, then stand. So if my opponent, with my current hand, since I keep on getting triggers and PG, I will just save my divine skill. Okay, so going second, you have a lot more energy, so that's good, but you will apply your pressure a bit more one turn later, since your opponent will have 2 grade 3 turns before you get Rakshasa, and they will be able to use Persona Ride first. So I lost my top cut because I went second against Odium, so I wasn't able to reach turn 4. I went from 2 to 6 damage because they were able to activate divine skill. Okay, so this hand is actually really good, but since we're going second, I will keep this just in case I get 2 more grade 1s, so I can do the 3 grade 1 call. So obviously the trigger, this one I don't think I'll need it earlier, so you want to draw the grade 1, and then I redraw Boulder Axe, since I think Shura will be better, so you have an option to get the 15k attack, and I also want to get the grade 1s. Okay, Shenri. Okay, so we got the 3 grade 1s. Okay, Your opponent passes, you get 3 energy. Wow. This one. So you have 4 grade 1s. You can actually just... yeah. So like we can be greedy here. We can discard this to ride. You draw 1, energy charge 3. And you can actually go greedy here, like call here. So this one will get +8, so 16 if your opponent's 8k. Yeah, I mean, mostly what matters is if you either have 3 units or 5, but 5 is very rare. And if your opponent has board clear, that might not be good. But this is good because of Shenri, since you won't have to think about fixing your board, because you can just put it to soul and draw. And it's a 13k boost even early. So this will swing for 16. Your opponent cannot guard it with single trigger, so mostly they just take it. Then you drive check, no trigger. And even if your opponent gets defensive, this will still hit. So 21, even if your opponent is 18, it will still hit. And yeah, you might as well put the soul if you're against Rezael or any deck that will call 21. And requiring 1 card from your opponent this early is really good because they haven't built their hand yet. So see, so you're able to have big columns, and then you just get them back with Shenri. You get your hand back with Shenri. And then, okay, let's say they can actually swing to your rears, but I'm not worried about that, because since you draw back with Shenri, you can have your pieces. And even since we have twin impulsive, you can just build your board back. And you also have the grade 2 in the ride line. And if they swing your pieces, it's okay, since you'll be able to stay at lower damage. Like Odium, you want to stay low because they'll just kill you on their divine skill. So let's say they attack your Vanguard and then they attack Rokosei. You stand and draw. You Soul Blast. I Soul Blast the ride line even though I don't have Summit Flare, but it doesn't matter anyway. It's just a small thing. But if you use Summit Flare, yeah, you just Soul Blast the ride line. Then I just call and just swing. Since our turn 1 is already good, already applied a lot of pressure, this is fine. 10k, mostly they no pass this, so even though if we get triggered, they can just no guard it. And then yeah, 18k. Then their turn 3, let's say they hit crit, then this. So okay, now we have 6 energy. No, 9 energy since we're going second. So you can discard Fall Heart, ride, draw first. So 6 energy. You draw first before putting this, so you know what card you get from the draw. Very small thing. Then you call this. I might save this for next turn, like just in case your opponent has board clear and yeah, you won't have to worry much about having a field. So just in case, if you keep on drawing triggers, so 15, retire, draw 1, 23, retire, draw 1. Then okay, small thing, if you retire it with the original Varga skill from the front row, you can still call it, but it won't be able to stand but at least it will save you 1 card. So okay, 23k crit. So this will swing now for 33 with 2 crit. And then yeah, let's say you have to use this, draw 1, draw this, so 3 energy. So you might want to save it. So OT to pass. Yeah, I mean it just depends on your opponent if you want to get rid of the PGs. But let's say no. Let's say you take it. Wow, okay, that's so good. 6 energy. Malworm State, Persona Ride. So Shura. Wow. Okay, you have a lot of options. But it's also nice to use this just because you filter 1 card out of your deck. So the earlier you use it, the better. But also sometimes you want to save it, so you can build a board. But you can also build board with Fall Heart. But this one you can only build board on your turn. Well, this one's only on your turn, so sometimes it's okay to just save the Fall Heart since you can guard with it. So I think I will use the Shura this turn. Energy Blast 3, top 5. Okay, so we get the Rokosei, which is nice. No intercept. But we don't have boost behind Vanguard, because I don't want to call Rokosei. So yeah, ideally I want this here. But so one thing you can do also is like this. So when you retire it, you call this, then end of battle, retire it, you stand it. But so yeah, it's really depends on what's happening and what you're up against. You can also call this and then just save these for next turn. Like, yeah, I guess you can, this is fine. 31. Do you want to use the skill? We're at like 3 energy. I think I just save it. So this is 13, 23, 33. Skill. Retire this. Retire the front. This one's plus 10. Skill of the Twin Impulsive plus 5. Skill of this, draw 1. And since we healed, we have a lot of CB. Call plus 10. So 33. Heal. Wow. So if you're planning to divine skill, it's just better to put the power here, so you get more value out of the trigger power. So power, draw. Okay. Yeah. So if your opponent's only at 4, this one's gonna be 43, so 35k shield to guard. So at kind of like, in a way, like 3 cards if they don't have front. So this one's gonna call itself back, so this one is gonna be 43. So I guess might as well put it to Van. End of battle skill, CB1. You retire the back row. Then skill of this, you call it so blast 1 to restand. 53. If your opponent's at 4, they'll probably take it. Then end of battle, divine skill, heal. Well, let's say you don't heal power. then it's gonna be 53. So yeah, that's it for my basic deck profile and guide. And yeah, thank you for watching.